Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you are all doing well. To start things off, recent research by the Wall Street Journal published on the 27th of December revealed that hundreds of cryptocurrency offerings showed signs of fraudulent activity, improbable returns, and of plagiarism. In the course of its research, the Wall Street Journal downloaded white papers of 3,291 cryptocurrency projects that announced an ICO from three websites. They were ICObench.com, tokendata.io, and ICOrating.com. They talk about what a white paper is. We kind of know what that is. The reports further conducted an analysis of the documents, excluding duplicate and non-English papers. They said, and I quote, "To identify duplicate language, the journal compared sentences with at least 10 unique words to each other sentence in other white papers. Reporters then read and reviewed nearly 10,000 sentences appearing more than once among 3,291 papers analyzed and removed technical and legal sounding language. Then the journal compared report offerings data to determine which document first published any given sentence and excluded those projects from that database." End quote. The report analyzed or indicated that 16% or 513 of the aforementioned white papers showed signs of plagiarism, identity theft, and promises of implausible returns. White papers of more than 2,000 of the 3,200 projects contained sentences with alluring terms such as nothing to lose, guaranteed profit, return on investment, highest return, high return, funds profit, no risk, and little risk, end quote. Without reading too much further, this is why, and I will say it until the end of crypto, it's always important to do your own research. One of the main problems that I had at the beginning of this year, I can't believe that the year is almost over, is that we were in the midst of the crypto insanity period, but I had a large number of people, and I still do to this day, asking me to review their ICOs and to talk about this ICO and other things like that. And I told you guys before in many other videos, I have read through a number of white papers because I think they're kind of cool, and I like to see exactly what the proposed plan for the new blockchains are going to be when they end up coming out. But as you read through many of them, and I'm not going to mention, there's one coin in particular, you know exactly which coin I'm talking about, where we had news before about plagiarized, and it was multiple times throughout the white paper, not even just singling out that one project. People have realized that if you use keywords or key terms such as high return, high investment, and you have little to no risk and you are going to make money, people are definitely, I don't use Instagram that often at all, not really that much. Please pay attention. There are a lot of scams going on Telegram, on Instagram, and all these different places. There are even some Instagram pages where you can you can see that people are running like conventions and stuff like that, and not going to name countries because it's like 4 specific countries where they're running these scams, and they're running like huge conventions, and all these people are there, 500 people cheering, jumping to their feet, and they're telling them the same exact things that we just read down here. I know people aren't probably going to take an enormous amount of time out of their day to end up actually reading white papers, but try to remain diligent as to where you put your money into. We are, and I say this, and I think this is very significant for this time frame right now, is because as the year is ending and we go into 2019, a lot of people think that the market is going to rebound, and with that rebound, we are going to have an enormous amount of scams that are going to start popping back up again. And I just hope that over the last year of everything kind of crumbling down, and those coins that you may have possibly put money into that didn't really make you any money because they were complete scams, that you kind of stay away from some of the other ones that we're definitely going to see in 2019. If Bitcoin passes by 10,000 again and starts going up, obviously, the amount of ICOs that we're going to see coming back onto this onto the scene is just going to be kind of ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, going to breeze through this one. BitTrue, or Bitrue, a cryptocurrency exchange, announced that it will be adding XRP to its platform, which will be available for trading in 5 pairs in the first week of 2019. However, the pairs have not been officially announced as the platform has asked the community for suggestions. The official tweet read by them said They said, we're happy to announce that we will be onboarding all XRP trading pairs in the next couple of months. We're planning to add 5 pairs in the first week of 2019. And pretty much they want people. I have never, I am not associated with BitTrue, but on their Twitter page, it appears that they want people to actually tell them what pairings they want with XRP. I'm interested to see exactly how that's going to kind of turn out, because typically, sometimes, if you're into XRP, you typically kind of float more towards altcoins. And I wonder if things like, I'm almost certain that Tron has been talked about. I can imagine EOS, I can imagine Amisego, I can imagine maybe Nano and like a couple of other coins. I wonder if the voting process will actually have more people voting for altcoins to be paired with XRP than they will actually have Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, I like to talk about when coins get added to other exchanges, especially when they're going to have at least 5 pairs with them. It just makes a lot of sense. Crypto isn't, at least in my opinion, just one coin anymore. We have, as you may have noticed over here, thousands of coins floating around in the ecosystem. So it's always nice when we hear about pairings that are going to be happening. Next up, so we talked about part of this a couple of days ago, but now this is kind of like the continuation of it. There is a guy, where is his name? Henry Arslanian. We spoke about him a couple of days ago when he had like semi-nice things to say about Ripple and XRP, and he was talking about where he thinks it is going. Now this is, apparently he was talking about the cryptocurrency market and exactly how the crashes of prices have affected the market. He said, or rather it says, when queried about Bitcoin's cyclical nature of booms and busts, Arslanian noted that the recent collapse in the Bitcoin price can actually be classified as a bullish happenstance, as it cleared out the noise that plagued the sector. Backing his claim, the PricewaterhouseCoopers cryptocurrency head noted that the dot-com crash cleared out the money-grabbing startups, leaving only companies that went on to change the world, namely Amazon. Yet he pointed out that there remain many cryptocurrency-centric startups that are reeling, specifically due to poor treasury management. And as made clear by the ETC devs' recent collapse and the layoffs seen at Consensus, Steemit, and Spank Chain, this is a valid concern. Arslanian noted that this market tumult is a byproduct of speculators betting on crypto prices en masse, before adding that 2019 is likely to be a positive year for the industry nonetheless. The general idea right now is that, and I want to say get ready, but I can't hype it up too much. Everyone at this point, and it's even the kind of the naysayers, the people who are like, yeah, crypto is kind of not going anywhere. Even they think, not to say that he's a naysayer, but you understand what I'm saying. We've seen the other articles before. They all think that 2019 is going to be a relatively positive and or good and or semi-great thumbs up in the air year where prices are going to go back up. What I'm afraid of is exactly what we were talking about before. I don't think that the prices going down were anything negative. If you believe in market cycles, then this had to happen. People get too hyped up and stuff like that. There was something I was listening to before, and they were talking about, the guy was like, he got into Bitcoin around the time it was maybe around $900. He said he bought a couple of them, and he said at one point he was in New York for a conference, and he said, when something is a bubble, when everyone starts talking about it. So he said he went into a coffee shop and he heard 2 old ladies talking about that they had bought some Bitcoin because their grandsons told them to buy Bitcoin. And then he said he got into a cab, and the cab driver was asking him, had he bought any Bitcoin? And he was like, okay. At that point, he knew that he had to get out because the hype cycle was far too high. But it also had to do with all the other ICOs that we also had dominating the space. And it's really interesting because there's also an ICO story coming up very soon as well. But I mean, it kind of is what it is. I think this needed to happen. I told you guys before many, many times. Not many people thought that we were a bubble. It appears that now we were. And I think that's simply because of how easy it is for anyone to kind of make a cryptocurrency project, to make a website and kind of tell people that they're definitely going to have. I have some crazy stories, and I mean some really interesting stories. And I guess I'll kind of share one of them with you right now instead of withholding it. The things that I heard in 2017 were, and even the beginning of 2018, were probably some of the craziest things I've ever heard in my entire life. Had a lot of friends who I hadn't heard from in quite some time who had randomly also gotten into cryptocurrencies, and the things that they told me about that they were putting their money into, like monorail projects in Russia and some other like Infinite Coin or something like that. There's really weird things that were popping up every single day. And when you read their website, they were claiming and saying that they were as strong and as fast and so as Bitcoin. They were going to be the next Bitcoin. And I hope that at least in the future we have a situation where people aren't I don't want to use the word gullible, because especially when you're new to a scene like crypto, everything is brand new. You want to experience everything, and nobody really wants to miss out on anything that could be potentially possible. No one in their right mind thought in 2009 or 2010 that Bitcoin would be anywhere near $20,000 a coin. So when you hear something new, everyone kind of jumps towards it. I hope for those of you, and I mean this sincerely, who have been listening to my channel for at least 2 or 3 months, that or have a good idea as to what to kind of look for as far as like what a winner in the cryptocurrency space could be or should be, or what they look like. Like I said, once again, no one's going to be reading through all these white papers and stuff like that. So at least try to do some of your own research. I will desperately, should prices go up in 2019, I will try my darndest to lead you to the light and to the projects that have the greatest outside uplook, the ones that look the best for 2019, simply because I know it's going to get really bad really quick. All we'll need is Bitcoin to jump from 10,000 to 20,000, and the amount of noise that's going to re-enter the cryptocurrency space, telling people to put their money in. And I already see it in the comment section now. The amount of people who talk about these coins, when you look into them, they're clearly scams. But didn't mean to spend too much time on that. As I said, I was going to breeze over it, but let's continue on. Next up, initial coin offerings, or ICOs, will return within 18 months. And Ethereum will rebound aggressively. This was said by the BitMEX CEO. His name is Arthur Hayes. He said this on the 26th of December. BitMEX is a Hong Kong-based cryptocurrency trading platform that has become one of the largest trading platforms in the world by volume. Speaking in an interview, Hayes forecasted a return to form from 2018's dead ICO market. He said the use case for Ether is primarily ICOs. That market is dead right now. He continued on saying, once there are new issues, then Ether will rebound aggressively. When the ICO market returns, Ether will quickly test $200. The timing of the ICO rebirth is 12 to 18 months out, end quote. Hayes made the comment following a now rare day of stability across the crypto markets. This was, I think, about a day or two ago. Anyway, the point is, we have discrepancies in the cryptocurrency space right now where a lot of people think that ICOs are dead. ICOs are not coming back. ICOs have no future simply because governments have stepped on them. They have squashed them out. And pretty much we have something called STO, security token offerings, that are going to be the new fancy, shiny new thing on the cryptocurrency block. By the way, 2019 is expected to be the year of the stablecoin and the year of the STO. This is just kind of the murmuring that are going around in the cryptocurrency space right now. This guy and a handful of other people actually believe that, first of all, I had never actually heard that the primary use for Ether is actually just ICOs. That's kind of new to me. People believe that when we get proper regulation in place and everything is set up and you know exactly who's what's doing this and how that actually works, that ICOs and STOs on top of that are going to be built on top of the Ethereum platform. Part of the problem that we've had before in the past, if you have not noticed, is that when things are denominated in Ether and someone is creating an ICO on top of Ethereum and they decide to create their own chain or go off on their own, they then sell off that Ether that they have to be able to fund their project and or realistically buy up their own coin in mass. So I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I get the case for it. I don't specifically think that Ethereum's main reason or purpose is just going to be ICOs. I have a strong inkling that Ethereum is going to be used by world governments and stuff like that, as we've heard. Maybe a lot of you weren't here. There are a lot of governments who are talking about using Ethereum and building stuff on top of Ethereum as well. I think that's going to be one of Ethereum's main thing. I think they're going to be like a heavy infrastructure type thing for like laws and other things to be built on top of. That's not to say that you cannot or other people will not be building or continuing to build on top of the Ethereum platform. But then the discussion goes back to that we need these actual, I mean, maybe that's where he's getting his time frame from. The rebirth of the ICO is a 12 to 18 month thing that's going to happen rather from this moment. And that kind of comes down to the time frame that we have gotten from Vitalik Buterin, that they're supposed to have the next 3 updates on top of their platform that will allow them to potentially have anywhere from 50,000 to 100 million transactions on their network. I know that's a big jump in numbers, but these are the numbers that have been quoted. I mean, it's definitely possible. I can see where the hype is coming from, but I feel like Ethereum has many other uses that maybe we just haven't really figured out yet. I don't think the main use case for Ether is just for ICOs. Maybe this is kind of just where we are kind of seeing it right now. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, the Brazilian National Social Development Bank will launch a pilot for a stablecoin known as BNDES token. The new token will be running on the Ethereum blockchain, and it will be backed 1-to-1 by the Brazilian real. The information was released a few days ago by the institution to CoinDesk. I said of CoinDesk. Anyway, during 2018, several new stablecoins were launched in the market, but it seems that there are new institutions that are entering the crypto and stablecoin market. The Brazilian National Social Development Bank, which is owned by the state, will launch a pilot in January 2019 for its own stablecoin. This stable digital asset will be linked to the Brazilian real. However, this is not the first time that the company decided to test a stablecoin. In the past, it experimented with it throughout 2018. Consensus will be one of the companies that will help the bank develop this currency. This kind of goes exactly, I mean, I didn't even realize they kind of like matched each other. For some reason, Ethereum has become the blockchain for governments to kind of like build things on top of. It's a very weird thing, because I guess maybe he means that was the actual use case for Ether, because what we're seeing, and I've definitely seen it and have been paying attention to it, the amount of interest, especially like from the Russian government and many other governments who have talked about, I want to say Singapore, maybe also building on top of Ethereum as well. They all, especially with the Ethereum Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, is that they're going to be using the Ethereum blockchain, but none of them have explicitly announced that they were going to be using the Ether token. So I guess the Ether token comes into play when you have it as a fundraising method for your platform. I guess that's kind of the easiest way to say it. This is once again another indication of something big that's happening behind the scenes. A lot of people, I think, just maybe are not paying attention to. We now have the Brazilian National Social Development Bank, which is run by the state, or it's owned by the state, now building their own stablecoin. And I think this is happening for a couple of reasons, mainly just 2. At the beginning of this year, when we had all the hype around blockchain and so and who was going to do this and central bank digital currencies, we had a number of countries who came forward and they said that they do not think that other countries should be building their own central bank digital currencies. The way that I think that they're getting around this right now, and I'm pretty sure you've noticed, is that a lot of countries and their handful of their banks are announcing the launch of a stablecoin that is going to be pegged as a 1-to-1 to their current fiat currency that they have. And I'm pretty sure you see exactly where this goes. You get around the bank having to create one. This is very interesting as well. Banks no longer are rushing to create their own blockchains, because crypto has existed for long enough that our structures are stronger and more sound than anything that they could have looked to create. And I mean as far as like an actual decentralized platform. Part of the when you listen to like commissioners from the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank, and when they talk about the prospects of blockchain and how they like it a lot, it comes down to these distributed distributed ledger technology or blockchain, that they are able to, like, none of these banks in these countries actually trust each other. You may see them smiling and shaking hands and stuff like that. None of them actually trust each other. When you hear them talking at these interviews and meetings and stuff like that, they say that one of their main prospects for the reason why they like blockchain is that they always say we live in a time where trust is very difficult to have, and the fact that we can build something on top of these platforms and then have it be widely distributed and that we can see everything that's happening is completely transparent, so we don't have to trust this person and so is very interesting. The fact that Ethereum is in the center of all of this is once again one of the reasons why I think that Ethereum is going to last for a very long time. I don't think Ethereum is going anywhere. It may not be the number 3 coin. It may not even be the number 17 coin or in the top 20 in the future, simply because we have a lot of other cryptocurrencies that could potentially pass it by. But Ethereum is definitely here to stay, and it may have a completely different use case than people eventually thought, as Bitcoin is digital gold and XRP is the coin for remittances and money to go back and forth around the world. Ethereum is looking like it's the thing where everyone is just going to build on top of. And I think this will come into play a bit more. And I think other companies and countries are waiting to announce their prospects or anything that they're planning on doing with the Ethereum blockchain when we have confirmation that Ethereum can officially, at least even with the Raiden network, do over, I want to say, anywhere from more than 15,000 transactions per second. I think that's going to be a very interesting number that we're going to hit, because as of right now, Ethereum, as we all know, is far too laggy. But it means something when you have multiple governments in 2018 and banks announcing that they're going to be launching platforms and their own stablecoins that are going to be pegged to their central bank currencies, whatever, on top of the Ethereum blockchain. So if you think about it this way, not only have they circumvented the way of having to go through the long and lengthy process of creating their own blockchain and their own central bank digital currency that they then have to set up infrastructure for other countries around the world to be able to handle these transactions. Like, if you create your own blockchain, you have to have then incorporated atomic swaps in some sort of way, or found another basic system to be able to say, well, I have the Brazilian this and you have the Singaporean this. How are we going to trade our currencies back and forth? But if you build on top of the Ethereum blockchain, especially with all the stuff that are going to be built on top of it in the next couple of months, years, with an S at the end, it's very interesting to see the correlation between this. I still am waiting to see how this is actually going to play out, simply because I don't think that these are going to be extremely viable, meaning that these stable coins that are being launched, I understand why they're building stable coins. It has to do with the trading of cryptocurrencies back and forth. When you're trading cryptocurrencies during a downtrend in the market, you want to be able to transfer your money into stable coins as they are stable, and it's kind of is a way to you to peg the money that you had before, as opposed to having to completely swap out of cryptocurrencies, which in many countries has different tax implications. So I want to see in 3 years exactly how this is going to play out. What's also interesting is, if no one else has really noticed, when it comes to the prospect of stablecoins and banks and countries creating their own stablecoins, this also lends what's the word? Not dominance. It's not dominance. It gets people more familiar with using digital currencies on an everyday basis, which also then only helps the cryptocurrencies that we already have out there. One of the main fears was that if we had central bank digital currencies, that they would simply use that to hamper down the innovation in the cryptocurrency space. A lot of them have simply switched over and are going to, I'm pretty sure, going to continue to switch over, especially for a bank if you have banking reserves, to use simply stable coins as well, so that the banks can also make money, because the way that people are setting up stable coins right now is so that if you are trying to swap between back and forth through coins, they do take like sometimes a tiny fee depending on where your stablecoin is launched. Anyway, spent far too much time on the stablecoin topic, but it's very interesting that you see exactly where all of this is going. People like 3 or 4 years ago, they were talking about, they didn't call them central bank digital currencies or even stable coins. That phrase wasn't even out yet about 3 or 4 years ago. But what we saw were people talking about that governments were going to try and figure out how to make their own cryptocurrencies, which we have right here. And at that point, it would show the word isn't dominance, but it would show the strength of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that we already have, because it's no longer a system where governments are saying, oh no, yeah, don't use any cryptocurrencies because they're totally evil. Now they're saying, no, we're creating one and definitely use it as well. And if we get into a situation, which is also very interesting, if we get into a situation, and I assume it's going to happen within the next 2 or 3 years, where multiple governments have created a stable coin or have created some type of a digital currency, so and so and so, and should we have a stock market crash because these things are digital, the governments will have a red button, a fake red button somewhere that they can hit, and it'll freeze all transactions, which is one of the main things that a lot of institutions have been talking about before, that if you have a stable coin or a central bank digital currency, and should something negative happen to the economy at that time, you'll be able to simply flip a switch and stop all transactions that are happening and or freeze other people's monies. What happens at that point, once again, is in 2008, for those who, everyone should have been here at that time in 2008, is that we had, I'm pretty sure a lot of you remember the news stories and or watching it on the news or reading newspapers like we used to do back in that time, where they showed people with guns, like army troopers and normal cops standing outside of banks, allowing one person in at a time because everyone was trying to take their money out. And there were restrictions. I think you could, I think in New York, it was like, I remember seeing it on the news, you could take out, what was it, like $200, $300 per day or something like that. Now imagine a situation where you need something has broken, everything is falling apart, and you need to take out $15,000 to be able to fix something, and you can't do that. So if we have a situation where this continues, and I know it's going to continue, I know that the interest in the cryptocurrency space is far too large right now for governments not to want to get into it, and I think the easiest way for them to tiptoe into it is by issuing stablecoins in their own central bank digital currencies. We're going to have one country somewhere, one of them. We have what's 193 countries in the world right now who are going to launch something similar to this. There's going to be some type of economic problem in their country, and they are going to freeze all transactions that are happening at that time, or they're going to start issuing more of their currency and devaluing even their digital currency that they have, which is going to be a very insane moment. And this is going to cause more people who are already comfortable with cryptocurrencies by using these on a daily basis to realize that they should simply switch over to Bitcoin or other coins that are not controlled by governments. Very fascinating, right? It's definitely something to think about, because we're slowly inching towards this world. Like I said before, it's a lot quicker than I originally thought it was going to be. I thought we had about another 5 to 10 years of this, but if you get a chance after this, try and search on your whatever search platform you use and type in like Ethereum Russia, maybe Ethereum Singapore, like even the keywords like building, like government building on Ethereum. You'll definitely find it. Like, it's definitely happening at a more accelerated rate. Even look up the members of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. That's also one of the other reasons why I think Ethereum's not going anywhere. Like I said, it may not remain one of the highest, most expensive coins forever. No one knows the future. But Ethereum definitely has a very strong use case, I guess I kind of want to say. My goodness, did not mean to spend that much time on a stablecoin, but you get it. I hope you get it. Like, crypto is going to be absolutely massive. Like, it's not going anywhere. Don't let anyone tell you. If they tell you these things, just show them these articles. Like, crypto's not going anywhere. There's far too much attention around it right now. My goodness. Next up, trying to capital T breeze over this one. Someone found out that on the XRP ledger, where you can see all the transactions that are happening through the XRP token, someone sent a 90 million XRP transaction on the 27th of December from an unknown wallet, obviously, to another unknown wallet, obviously. 90 million XRP at the moment is 33 million US dollars. However, this is not the only multi-million transaction process on the 27th of December. According to Whale Alert, 30 million more XRP had been transacted a few hours later. This means that an unknown wallet sent around $11 million to another unknown wallet. There's also, this has been happening for quite a long amount of time. If you've ever watched Alex Cobb's cryptocurrency channel video, it's not a blog. Anyway, I've watched a couple of his stuff. He's very big on XRP, and he's really like diligently pays attention. Sorry out there if I have not mentioned anyone else's other cryptocurrency channel who's also very diligent when it comes to the XRP ledger, but he appears on my suggested. Anyway, the point is, he's seen a lot of these happening the last couple of months, and he tried to point them out to people, and I think a lot of people just really aren't paying attention to exactly what's happening. Remember before we were talking about how with a lot of the over-the-counter buying for Bitcoin, I was like, I wish I could desperately see how many people were buying Bitcoin over the counter, and because you see them on blockchain, they kind of like scroll down, but on the XRP ledger, typically some transactions are like maybe 30,000 XRP, 15,000 XRP, but when you see stuff like this really pop up, it leads to a lot of speculation. Who in the world purchased $33 million worth of XRP. And this, once again, isn't the first time that this has happened. This has been happening for months. There have been 110 million transactions for XRP. There's been 50 million. It's kind of going on and on and on. And no one really knows where they're going to, but the speculation is that they're probably going to banks or institutions or whoever is planning on using XRP, or simply even to other rich people who are betting on XRP because they see that the price that it is right now is a tenth of where it was before. And if you have this kind of money to throw around and you throw in $33 million into XRP and it goes back up to even just where it was before, you have $333 million that you made from a simple transaction. Anyway, it's all speculation, obviously, but this money is clearly going somewhere. No normal person is digging deep into their wallet and pulling out $33 million or buying 90 million XRP or even buying 30 million XRP at one given time. It's all very interesting, and it only heats up speculation, especially as we get more news about the partnerships that Ripple has been getting with other banks and institutions around the world who are going to be using XRapid, especially since we have at the end of 2019 Brad Garlinghouse talking about that we're going to have dozens of banks using XRapid. Makes you think. Last up, to actually breeze over this one, a financial regulator of the United Arab Emirates, or the UAE, will introduce ICOs, or initial coin offering regulations, by the country by the end of the first half of next year. This development was reported by English language local news outlet The National on the 21st of December. The Securities and Exchange and Commodities Authority, of the UAE, called SCA, which regulates and monitors the markets, will reportedly work with the Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange and Dubai Financial Market to develop a platform for ICO token trading. This is part of this is, yes, finally, I'm glad that countries around the world are no longer waiting for America specifically to hear what America has to say about ICOs and STOs and all these other things and how they're going to work within their country. It's nice to see that other countries, especially very rich ones, are finally coming forward on their own and making their own regulations. And it's also nice. It's also, once again, really weird. Ties into the same exact other thing we were talking about before about the ICO market returning. I don't think ICOs are dead. I think they've been squashed and hampered down very heavily. The fact that they are going to now be regulated is going to be something very interesting, because the point of STOs, or security token offerings, is that they're specifically going to be geared towards people or companies or institutions who are in the stock market who wish to already take their securities and tokenize them, thus a security token offering. With ICOs, it kind of comes down to at least what we've seen so far has been companies who are creating cryptocurrencies and are trying to launch them on top of a platform. It'll be very interesting to see exactly. I can only assume that a large part of their regulation will come down to taxation, who can do it, and what we've also seen in a number of other countries as well is how much money an ICO can raise. Because you may have noticed we were talking about, rather, the EOS video where they raised $4 billion. For a lot of governments, that's a major no-no. Anyway, I don't know why I said no-no. Anyway, the point is very interesting as we go along, and other countries as well are also giving us their news about ICOs and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see exactly if the market for ICOs will develop in the exact same way that it did in 2017. To kind of finish things off, prices aren't doing that bad. They could be doing a lot worse. I think that's a nice way to put a cherry on top of it. There hasn't been any significant negative news for any cryptocurrencies out there. But at the moment, the market is still in a bit of a downtrend. When you kind of look around, depending on, everyone, if you look for information on the prices of cryptocurrencies, you'll get about 7 different analyses of people talking about where they think the market is going. We still have the same news floating around our heads. A lot of people think that Bitcoin is there's someone out there who said that he thinks that Bitcoin is headed for the death march. If Bitcoin happens to go below 3,200, meaning that Bitcoin is headed towards 1,000. A lot of people think that Bitcoin is already headed to 1,500, especially if we don't get any major movement relatively soon. Other people are saying that they think that Bitcoin needs to pass the $5,000, $6,000 mark within the next couple of weeks. because if we don't have a proper uptrend by the time that the backed platform ends up launching, it'll actually cause a little bit of a spike in price and then a bit of a flounder, because we need a certain amount of time of bullish activity happening within the marketplace in order to be able to continue that momentum. I've also seen people talking about that the most that Bitcoin will hit next year is around like $6,000. I mean, it's kind of all over the place. Like I said, no one is an oracle. No one knows exactly what's going to happen. I think crypto's okay. I think it just needs like a bit more oomph in its step. I think we need something to kind of push the market a bit more higher. And I fear, for the most part, that people are still waiting on U.S. regulators to kind of say what things are in the market. Alrighty, everyone. That is definitely going to do it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are. Wherever you might be, I hope it's absolutely amazing. Thank you once again for all of your support. And yeah, I'm awful with ending videos, so I'll talk to you all soon. See you.